Break. We're going to have our expert Craig on if the president doesn't show up. The president does show up, we'll give you a little president.
Why don't we have Craig on, and if the president jabbers,
Fine with me. Fine with me. Stay with us. You're listening to the Armstrong and Getty Show.
When will it be operational to your satisfaction?
Well, we have a goal that the team is pursuing with tremendous intensity.
How many more weeks? Because I'm going to get asked when I go home. I know you can appreciate that. I'm going to get asked, when will it be operational? When will it be as good as it can get?
So, sir, I think the honest answer is that there's a team of incredibly dedicated public servants.
I get all that. I'm looking for a number. I'm looking for a number. We can interpret the poem later. I'm looking for a number.
That's working hard to have the site functioning by the end of this month smoothly for the vast majority of Americans.
Can I hear the Henry Chow that's just 11 seconds? It helps make my point.
I'm trying to understand what you mean by fully tested. It was tested in accordance.
Fully tested? Holy cow, this is like a new low.
Anyway, I liked the parade of Asians we had yesterday at the hearings there in Washington, D.C. Clearly, only Asians are smart enough to make websites because it was all Asian dudes getting grilled by congresspeople about why things don't work. I thought that was just interesting.
If I'm Henry Chow, every time I testify, I sit down and say, it's Chow time, everybody. What's the first question? Take hold of it.
Wasn't that quite noticeable, quite striking to you that everybody in charge of the website at every level was an Asian dude?
The old POA? Yeah. Please welcome to the Armstrong and Getty Show, Craig Gottwals, the ObamaCare lawyer. If you or your company is desperate to figure out what the hell is going on with health care right now, we've got a link at armstrongandgettyradio.com to get in touch with Craig. Hey, Craig.
Good morning.
So, my brother, evidently the president is going to get up and say, yeah, you can hold on to your plan. Sure, we changed our minds.
Yeah.
Well, he was supposed to speak 20 minutes ago, and I think it probably means something that he's 20 minutes late. Well, I'll bet they're still at the last second changing words and thinking, can we say this? How are we going to do it? Does anybody think we can actually do this?
Well, you are right to not worry about what he says. We know effectively what he's going to say, and it's not going to make a whole lot of difference. And the only difference it does make is going to make insurance that much more expensive, and it's going to cost the taxpayer, and it's going to end up bankrupting this system faster than before. So he's going to say, like you guys have commented upon, effectively, if you have a plan in 2013, we're not going to make you cancel that plan. You can hold on to it for at least 1 year. We're going to let you renew it for at least 1 year. Now, that's totally irrelevant to us in California because he can wave every magic wand he wants. But remember, in California, all of our carriers who are participating in that exchange had to enter into a contract with the state of California saying they will discontinue those plans, and they've already discontinued those plans. So once he waves his magic wand, he's also got to get California to move real quick, which we know doesn't happen all that well, and go and issue new contracts to all these carriers saying you can keep your plan. And even if that does occur, some of those carriers have scrapped those plans, scrapped that system, already started enrolling people on different plans.
Of course.
And they're just not going to be able to physically do it.
And I would imagine made all kinds of different business decisions based on the projections of that.
Right, an individual or a company. I mean, and this is going to be not an enormous group of people, but if I got booted and bought my much, much, much more expensive exchange plan, and now the president says, no, you can keep your plan. What do I do now? Well, it's been canceled. I can't keep it. I'm already off of it.
Yeah, that egg has already been cooked. You can't uncook it. Just as a simple example for people to get their heads around, the largest, or I guess it's the second largest carrier in the nation is United Healthcare. And because of all this, United Healthcare has already opted out of the individual market in California. I mean, so how are you going to keep that plan, Mr. President? Or how about the fact that I have had clients going all the way back to 2010 that have lost their grandfathered status? There's no way they're going to get their plans back. So it's silly. And to the extent that it does occur, because there will be some carriers and some plans that will say, okay, we can salvage this. We'll let you keep that plan. What's going to happen is, again, the healthy and the young people are going to be able to keep the lower-cost, cheaper plan. They're not going to be paying into this big boondoggle.
And the only way the boondoggle works is if everybody pays these enormous premiums that cover everything.
Yes,
right.
And so, and remember we talked about before, too, 80 cents on the dollar of the carrier losses will be funded by the taxpayer ultimately. So this thing will limp along unless it just becomes such a political nightmare they have to kill it. But it will limp along for 2-3 years before...
Bailed out by the taxpayers.
Right.
Well,
right. Built-in bailout.
Well, the main question then is a political question. I don't know if you're the right guy to ask that because you're looking at the realities of it and everything like that and the numbers. But what percentage of people out there are going to end up with a better, cheaper plan because it's subsidized by taxpayers versus people who are going to end up with a higher one? That's the real number.
Well, it's roughly half because
that's all you need. If you got half of the people out there, and if they vote, well, then the other half of us are screwed.
The takers got to outnumber the makers. Then it works.
It's Mitt Romney's half, effectively, guys. I mean, that's
sure.
the way they designed it.
Well, that politically works then.
Yep.
Most people are going to say, what are you talking about? Why are you people bitching? Why is this a news story? My insurance is cheaper now. And those people are going to vote for more of that. My insurance is already much more expensive, but screw me. I've inordinately extracted from the public wealth, and I deserve it.
Veering off of our what we were going to talk about here real quick, too, I want to point out the "you lied" comment, the insuring of illegals.
Yeah.
That's because technically illegal aliens cannot get subsidies in the exchange. That is true. But what have we seen? Most people that have enrolled in this system have enrolled in Medicaid, not the exchange. It's like a 4-to-1 ratio, right? Mm-hmm. So... And you absolutely can be illegally in this country and get your Medicaid. So when that senator or congressman stood up and screamed, "You lied," that's what he was referring to, is the fact that you just passed a law that's going to allow 33% more illegal aliens to get taxpayer-subsidized health care via Medicaid.
The whole getting swept into Medicaid instead of on the exchanges because you're eligible for it. Am I correct that at least some states took the Medicaid expansion money so that it is actually directly roping more illegals into Medicaid?
Yes, exactly.
As opposed to an unintended consequence?
Right, and when the law was passed, it was every state was supposed to do that. It was the Supreme Court case that said, "Now some states you can opt out of this because the federal government can't force you to do that." So it's roughly half of the states, and if you were to look at the map, it's roughly the blue states.
Yeah, but if it's federal tax money, my federal tax money, it doesn't matter if it happens a block away or in Maine.
Well, it's federal tax money 100% for the first 3 years, and then after the first 3 years, it ramps down so that the state has to be on the hook for a percentage of that cost. And that's why the red states, for the most part, said, "Whoa, we don't trust the federal government at all. Obama won't even be president then. We don't know how much we're going to get reimbursed. We don't want to add these people to the rolls and have that budget blow up for us."
Right.
Hey, back to the what the president's going to talk about as soon as he comes out, and he's now a half hour late. A lot of the texters are pointing out the president's going to come out and say this. You've explained that some carriers will be able to do it, but most won't be able to. And the president's going to easily be able to say, "Look, I opened the door for them to do it." And the evil, greedy insurance companies wouldn't insure you anymore.
That's right. For the people who aren't paying close attention, it'll still be able to write to the dialogue they want.
Craig Gottwals, our ObamaCare lawyer.
We didn't even get to his main point. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow.
Which is?
He had a point. He had a story. He had a good story.
In California, yeah.
We'll get to that tomorrow, maybe.
All right.
I mean, there's so much going on with ObamaCare, it's unbelievable. And there's going to be more in like the next 10 minutes as soon as the president speaks. You're listening to the Armstrong and Getty Show.